I chose to do chapter one of the ISTE text. I thought it was kind of cool to see that we're going over this in the class because I actually had the opportunity to attend this conference, the ISTE conference in Atlanta last year. And man, what an incredible place to be and see all the things that are out there for technology and see all the ways that different people are using them. It was kind of cool. During different sessions, you could go and see, like there were kids from schools in California using robotics and kids from other schools programming things that would run those robotics. So it was just really neat to see those kids interacting with the stuff that you're learning about at this conference as well. Uh, One thing that also struck me as kind of just insane for the ISTE conference was how far it reached out. It wasn't just teachers from the United States. I ended up actually spending quite a bit of time talking with a gentleman from Australia, and I ended up talking for quite a while with a couple teachers from the UK as well. So it's pretty cool to see this technology trend just growing so rapidly. And so, again, I just really liked the fact that we're touching on some of the things that ISTE is putting together because I got to see a lot of it in action last year in Atlanta, and this year it's in Philadelphia, but I did not have the opportunity to go. So, first up here, the chapter started with talking about promoting and demonstrating creativity in the classroom. One of those things, it's hard for sometimes for the teachers to be creative because we've been completely trained differently than what we're asking our students to do. So it's hard to model it at times. So the first bullet point here, along with encouraging the students, we have to model it. The creativity must be modeled for the students. Again, it's hard for them to as well because a majority of their teachers are teaching them just like the way they were taught. So it's going to be you're going to sit in class, you're going to listen to the lecture, and you're going to do the homework assignment, and that's going to show the teacher that you've learned the material rather than creating something unique and showing that they've learned it based on something such as a video or a web that they put together. Blooms and dimensions. So there's this Bloom's taxonomy thing here on the left, and that's exactly the same as before, except for evaluate and create are not on the same thing. Create is actually a step outside, and I really feel that that's pretty fitting. You have those first three or four levels there that are pretty typical for what you see in a high school classroom. And sorry, the right hand side is kind of cut off there, but that's just from the text as well. Just all those different things that feed into the creativity, intellectual power, personality structures, specific domains or disciplines. And I'll speak a little bit more to that later. But it's there's so many things that feed into creativity. That's why it's so hard to do. You can't just put your thumb on it and say, "Here's what I know, done." That's why it's so low on the Bloom's taxonomy. You're just remembering something. Whereas, if you can create something unique from scratch, you really do have the best knowledge on that material. Teachers' role with creativity is to provide a stimulating environment for all types of learners. Um, there's lots of different intelligencies that you can hit, and it's your job to try and reach out to as many of those as possible. And when you're allowing the students to be creative, that really hits on all of them. If you give them a task that you want them to show you that they understand something, and they need to do a certain number of things, well, if that is building a video game to show that they understand how a concept works, or reenacting something, or making a stop motion movie about it, who knows? If you just tell them to show you that they understand it in any way that they know or feel comfortable with, that's really going to hit all those different intelligencies because they're going to choose it themselves. Make sure that the classroom is a place of comfort, and this is a huge thing. It is so hard, especially at the middle school and high school, for kids to feel able to be creative because they're always worried about what their peers think. If you create a classroom of comfort, then the kids won't worry about, well, I think I'll look stupid. They'll just go out there and try to do the best they can on their homework. They won't have second thoughts on it. And I feel like that's probably one of the hardest things to do, is make sure that those kids feel comfortable, because as comfortable as they are in a classroom, you really can't control all the things that can be said about the students outside of your classroom. All you can do is control, here's what we're doing. We're putting ourselves out there, and hopefully those kids will be open to the fact that this is a hard thing for some kids to do. So, again, I really feel like that's the big thing in this chapter with the creativity, is making sure that those students are comfortable to be creative in the first place. Things that can affect creativity: access to resources, historical and cultural factors, geographic factors, familial factors, and situational factors. Again, your access to resources is probably one of the big things here. Many kids don't have all the same opportunities as others. That's why when it's in a classroom setting, it's so important that they feel comfortable, because it's not always available for them at home. So it's not like they can go home and make this great big cool thing in private and then bring it to you as a final product, and hopefully, they're hoping that their peers don't see it. Well, if it's a kid who doesn't have any sort of resources at home, or internet connectivity or things like that, they're not going to have that opportunity to just truly be unique with it and do their own thing, rather than worry about those other kids. Historical and cultural factors, those things weigh in. Geographic, all those things. Um, there's so many different things that can affect creativity. So you have to consider that when you're giving these projects to kids, that maybe they don't all have those same opportunities when they go home. Sequence to creative growth. I really liked, there's a little table in there, and he discussed it a little bit in the book, or they discussed it a little bit in the book, was early on in a student's career, you want to focus on building up that creativity. And then in the middle years, they said, they didn't really specifically say middle school, but they said in the middle years, they said to focus on the content and the basic skills. So really make sure, and what I kind of took that is from the text, was make sure they master some skills. That way, after they master skills in the middle years, they can go on into adolescence, where you're in late middle school, 8th grade through 12th grade, whatever it may be. And again, go back to that creative side, where we know a lot of the baseline skills. Now we're going to grow on those skills, and we're going to do it in a way that we can be creative as well. Having a degree in both history and math, it's kind of one of those things that I didn't really notice until I picked up my degree. You talk about history for kids, they learn the same thing almost over and over again every single year. So, in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, let them focus on that content and let them really take in the information. And then in 8th through 12th grade, and well, obviously they'll learn new things, but 8th through 12th grade, focus on being creative with that information, because it's not like it's the first time they've heard it. The same thing applies for math. Every single year in my Algebra 1 class, I talk about how you add and subtract integers. Well, they should know how to do that from the 3rd grade, So a lot of math is just building on skills that hopefully they can master before they get to me. So I should be able to focus a little bit more on being creative with the material that I deliver to them, and let them be creative in the way that they show me that they understand it. What we can do here, there's a couple slides on this. Try to take advantage of all the different types of intelligences. It's very hard to hit all of them. That's why I said earlier, when you let them do a project and be creative with that project, they can control what type of intelligence they're going to use. So that's why I really feel this whole creativity thing is a good idea, because it's letting the students control how they want to deliver and learn. Using different types of tools. The book, or the first chapter of the book talked about, well, there's tools that are content specific, as well as tools that are general, and then maybe even tools that are more specific towards helping a particular student. So as a teacher, it's going to be one of those things where maybe we let the students go out and find some tools, because there's going to be times where they know of something better than us. I know that's happened to me more than once, where the student found something that actually works out a little bit better for them than what I had in the first place. Um, More of what we can do, promoting multiple ways of being creative. Don't restrict the students to, just doing a video or just doing a presentation on, whatever, PowerPoint, whatever you want to use, but let them show you in a way that they want to. Let them be creative, and you yourself as a teacher be creative and responsive to those different types of creativities. Don't shut something down because it's not the way you would do something. um, Appreciate it for what it is. It's a student delivering information to you in a new way. And then a couple more things here: how we learn, more opportunities for face-to-face learning. We discussed it last week as well, but we have one-to-one and online videos. Chapter 1 talked about all these different ways now that we can deliver face-to-face learning to the students, and it doesn't necessarily have to be at the classroom. More opportunities for the students and the teachers to collaborate. There's all kinds of websites that are useful out there. I know at my school there's a huge trend with Twitter right now. Everyone's getting on Twitter and looking for information or posting something useful that they found on Twitter all the time. I see it on Google Plus a little bit also, but Twitter is huge right now, and students can use that as well. Teach kids how to study and find meaningful information. That's kind of more of the same from last week. And that's kind of the end of what I chose to pull from the chapter. There were other things such as, historically how technology has been used, and um, it had some information on that, but I really felt like the stuff that I hit in the PowerPoint was more standout information to me anyway, I guess, in terms of what's useful to us as teachers. And again, like I said, it's really a lot of this whole creativity thing with technology. It's going to be easier for the students to find ways to be creative. There's so many resources out there, and there's so many different apps the kids can use, and they can just go out there and learn whatever they want whenever they want. So it's going to be kind of cool to see how this shapes the future of education.